Couple of former GISA rivals getting together tonight inside the Eagles' nest. Stratford hosting the George Walton Bulldogs. The Eagle looking on, very stoic. Didn't particularly like what he saw tonight. George Walton had a powerful running game. Patrick Morris on the carry. Jamie O'Quinn attempts to strip the ball and looks like he doesn't. And you can see the referee coming in saying, nope, whistle blew, no fumble. The George Walton drive continues. Jack Ellerby right here, again on the power sweep. Runs through 2, 3, and still drives down the field. The Bulldogs get close, and that would set up a touchdown run right here by Will Wolf. That would make it 35-0 George Walton. The Eagles would try and rally. Christian Palmer to a leaping Jamie O'Quinn. That's good for a first down. Take it to the fourth quarter now. Stratford still driving. Palmer was under pressure all night long. He would find Raylan Jones here for another first down, but that drive would stall. It is all Bulldogs in this one. Zaxby's FFN scoreboard. George Walton shuts out Stratford tonight. 35-0 is the final tally.